Hey everybody, so I want to talk about something kind of serious and something that personally affects me a lot. And I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos and people lately, and I've noticed something that kind of really bothers me. And I'm going to start off by telling a little bit of my story. When I was in first grade, I was diagnosed as dyslexic. And for those of you who don't know what that is or have heard of it but don't really know what it is, basically what it is there is basically wiring from your eyes to your brain. And what it is the signal gets mixed up in those connections from what your eyes see to your brain to tell your brain what's going on. And so like your B's and D's you get backwards, your P's and Q's you get backwards, and there's a couple other little things, but basically that's what it is. Your brain and your eyes aren't really communicating well when it comes to reading, writing, or math. Like you have trouble comprehending what's on the page and on the paper and stuff like that. And when I was diagnosed, I didn't think much of it. I was like, oh, okay, I'm dyslexic, whatever. But as I got older, I noticed I was totally different from everybody else. So basically, first grade, couldn't really tell. Second grade, I could kind of tell because I had trouble spelling and reading things that everybody else was flying through, doing amazing with. And then third grade, I really struggled, especially with math, because that's when you learn times, and all that stuff, all that fun math. And I really struggled, and I actually flunked, believe it or not, third grade. And so my teacher and my mom and dad, the principal, and me all sat down, and they asked me, you can move forward, but it'd be better if you were held back, start afresh, learn the stuff all over again, get the extra help. And that's actually when I was put in special ed, was that year, for math and reading and writing and spelling. And I didn't really, it was like, oh, okay, whatever, new bunch of friends, whatever. Which one thing that really sucks about being held back is I lost all my really good friends, and most of my friends were boys, but like all my friends that were girls and guys and stuff. And basically what ended up happening is that next year I started, all the kids were like, wait a minute, shouldn't you be in the grade above us? Like, they started making fun of me, especially when I started leaving the class during reading and spelling and math, which the teacher made it so it was all within the same time frame of when I would be going into my special ed class, which I have to say my third grade teacher was amazing. And they were going to actually switch me teachers, and I actually was like, no, I want to stay with this teacher. I'm not going to say who she is or anything like that, but she was an amazing third grade teacher. Absolutely love her still to this day. My favorite teacher I have ever had. And I was actually really good friends with her son, who was in my grade. But anyway, I go back to. But I decided to stay with her in her class, and I noticed, that's when I really started to notice things. Like, I would see my original classmates that were now a year ahead of me, and I'd put my head down and walk through school with my head down, like, with my hair in front of my face, hoping that they wouldn't recognize me because I was embarrassed. And actually one of them, which was one of my really good friends, was like, wait, I thought you moved. Hey, what are you doing with the third graders, da, 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 da. And his dad was also one of the teachers at the school, and I think his dad ended up telling him, she had to be held back because of this. And same with my other friend whose mom was my teacher. She told her son, I'm pretty sure, why I was held back. And so none of my original classmates ever made fun of me. It was more the kids I was with now, my new classmates. And it really bothered me. And so all through school, basically from third grade until senior year, till I graduated high school, I was in special ed. And for people who are in special ed, who are like me, who don't have I have severe dyslexia, but who don't have like anything physically wrong with them or anything like, seriously mentally wrong with them or anything like that, it's kind of, people people don't realize you have a learning disability until you flat out tell them. And I was so ashamed of being dyslexic that I never told anybody, except for my closest friends. And when I did tell them, some of them would start making fun of me, and I wouldn't be friends with them anymore. I mean, basically from 3rd grade, I did have a friend my 2nd year in 3rd grade, but she moved away. So basically, all of my 4th grade year, I had 0 friends. Like, 0. Because all the kids would make fun of me. You know, it was just a really hard year for me. I think that's one reason why. And the teacher I had was terrible, so that didn't help. But, you know, I was just tired of people making fun of me. And then the next year, I met a girl who I ended up hanging out with the wrong crowd. She was definitely the wrong crowd. She would hear people make fun of me, and she'd beat them up. Or she'd start cussing them out. And we were in 5th grade. You know, I was a year older, so I was like 12, 13, and she's like, you know, 11. And she'd start cussing people out and beating them up for making fun of me. And I was like, wait, this is great. You know, hang out with people like this, I won't be made fun of. And so when I got into middle school, it got even harder because I was back with my original class, who was now 7th graders. And I really started hanging out with a really bad crowd, which is typical with kids that have learning disabilities who do go to special ed classes most of the time, because they are made fun of, they are embarrassed, they hang out with the wrong crowds, they get into stuff they shouldn't. I never did drugs, I never drank, none of that. But, you know, I just wanted that extra protection. So I started hanging out with the wrong crowd, and they were basically like, you make fun of her, we're going to beat the crap out of you. It's kind of the vibe that they gave off. So nobody ever made fun of me again. But I realized, basically in 7th grade, you know, that's not the crowd I really want to be hanging out with. So I got a whole bunch of new friends, and I right off the bat was like, hey, I have a learning disability, this is, you know, and I explained it to my really close friends, and they were like, oh, okay, you know, if you need help in class, just ask, we'll help you, which was really cool. And what also helped, 6th grade, I met my second favorite teacher. He was my math teacher, my special ed math teacher, and he actually learned that I was dyslexic, and he actually went and read up on it. First teacher I've ever had who actually went, that I know of, who actually went and read up on it and learned how to teach someone with this disability. And it was amazing. Like, amazing. I absolutely adored him. He was the best. And what I thought was really cool is, I don't know if it was on purpose or whatever, but he was basically the middle school special ed math teacher. So he did 6th, 7th, and 8th. And I had him all through that. And then my 8th grade year, I actually got moved to a different English and spelling teacher, and she was horrible. Because it was with like this, basically it was one big classroom where all of, he had his, my math teacher had a separate room, but like the reading and spelling was in this big room with the severely special needs kids. And so me and one of my other friends, who I will not mention her name, were in that class, and we were the only 2 in it, and we're like, okay, and we were totally being ignored. Whenever we would ask questions, she would get nasty with us. So we actually went to our math teacher because we had him right afterwards, and we're like, hey, this is what's going on. We've been putting up with it for like 2 months. I can't deal with it anymore. Can you please do something? And he actually went and talked to the principal about him teaching us during one of his other classes that he had at the time. You know, we'd sit in the corner, and he would basically help us do our English and our spelling, and my reading level went through the roof that year. Like, I want to say before that, and mind you, I'm like in 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade at the time. I want to say I was in 8th grade. My reading level was at a 4th grade reading level, and I'm in 8th grade. My reading level went all the way to, I want to say 5th or 6th grade reading level. So that's huge for someone with my type of dyslexia. Like, huge. Because he made me feel safe and secure. Like, if I messed up, I wouldn't, you know, it was amazing. And he ended up following us to 9th grade. And then after that, he got a job somewhere else, which I was very, very sad at. But he made sure that my new English teacher, my new math teacher, knew how to teach me and how to work with me, because he knew me extremely well. He knew my temperament. He knew I would get frustrated at certain times, but he was just amazing, and I miss him. He was awesome. But when I got into high school, I met my best friend freshman year, and she was amazing. We literally only had 2 classes throughout high school together. We had art, and then our senior year, we made sure we had another class together. And we had ceramics together. But I would go to her house after school sometimes, and she would help me with my homework. We would do it together. And, she was an amazing force on me, and, she basically was like, you know what, I don't care that you're dyslexic. People who make fun of you, who cares? They're not worth it. If you need I'm always here for you. I will always help you if you need help with your homework or whatever, which that was amazing. And then, all through basically my whole childhood, my sisters did band. I wanted to do band. I was told I couldn't because I couldn't read words off of a page very well, so people just assumed I couldn't read music. So I couldn't do that. And then when I was in 11th grade, I did something called Skill Center, which is kind of like a boost to help you get a career or to help you get, know what you want to do, basically. So they had like auto mechanics, auto body, daycare, the culinary arts program, which is what I did. They had a hairstyle. Sorry, that jingling is our dog. Stop it. Hairstyling, and there's a bunch of other stuff, but I did the culinary arts because I always loved cooking. So I decided to do that, and the teachers there were amazing. And actually, the chef there actually told me that a lot of chefs are dyslexic. That's why they choose this career, because reading recipes is easy. There's nothing super complicated about it. You just measure out your stuff. There you go. And so I decided that's what I wanted to do, which in hindsight, I probably should not have went to the culinary arts program. But, I enjoyed those 2 years because it was junior year and senior year. And plus, I didn't have to take another science class. I didn't have to take... What was the other one? Oh, I got out of taking gym both years. It was amazing. Because that class gave me credits towards those things. And then, after I graduated high school, I took a year to decide what I wanted to do. And I tested it for college, and I was actually really surprised. And, for testing, that's one thing a lot of people don't understand. When you're dyslexic, you can't be timed when you're taking tests. Because you're a slow reader, it takes you a while to comprehend what you're reading. You can't take a normal test in a certain amount of time. You get 30 minutes to take this test. No. It's going to take me a lot longer if I have to read it. So my new English teacher, she was amazing in high school. She would actually, whenever I had a test, I would go to her classroom and she would read the test to me. Or when I had her class, I would just take my test to the class and I would do it in her class and then hand it in to her, and she would give it to my history teacher or science teacher or whoever it was. And I prefer to do it that way because then people aren't because when I was going to her classroom for tests, people were like, wait, why is she taking her test? Why is she leaving? And it was just it caused a lot of drama. So basically I would just sit there during the test. I wasn't allowed to study anymore or anything like that. Or I would take the test before I would go into the class. So that was nice. But for college, I was like, okay, I'm going to go into culinary arts because I know I am great at that. I know I'm a great baker. I know I'm a great cake decorator. I won awards for VICA and competitions for that stuff when I did do my culinary arts stuff. This is going to be a really long video. But anyway, long and short of it, my family wasn't sure I was going to be able to do it. They didn't even think I was going to graduate high school. And they were super impressed when I did. And I graduated good. I had a way higher GPA than anybody I would have ever thought I would ever have. And so my dad never thought I was going to go to college. So he retired the year I graduated high school. Never thought about me going to college. Nothing. And so I took that year. I worked and I tried to figure out what I was going to do. And I decided to go to Western Culinary Arts Program, Le Cordon Bleu in Portland, Oregon. And this was 2003, year after I graduated. And I told my mom, I actually didn't tell her anything. I researched it myself, sent away for all the information, and then I broke the news to my mom first, and she's like, what? You want to go to, what? You want to do this? I'm like, well, yeah, I want to do something with my life. I don't want to be an actor, which most dyslexic people are actors. Like, Bing Crosby is one of the most famous dyslexic people you will ever meet. A lot of musicians are dyslexic. You know, a lot of famous people are dyslexic. And when I found out Bing Crosby was, I was like, I'm telling everybody I'm dyslexic. I don't know how tall Bing Crosby is, you know. Like, there's a bunch of other people, I can't think of their names right off the top of my head, that are. And so I say, oh yeah, I'm dyslexic. This is totally off topic, but I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm dyslexic. They're like, what's that? I'm like, oh, and I explain. I'm like, and this person has it. Like, really? I'm like, yeah, those people all have it. Anyway, so she told my dad, and my dad's like, oh crap, I just retired. You know, what am I getting? So basically, I went to culinary art school. My dad ended up going back to work to help put me through it, basically pay for an apartment and all that kind of stuff. And I actually graduated 15 months later. I did struggle in culinary art stuff with, like, there was a huge test we had to take in the middle of everything, and I failed it. I got to take it 3 times, and I passed everything but one. And it was the one section of culinary arts I had no interest in learning, because to me, what does it have to do with cooking? A little bit, but not very much. Wine history, you know, all this stuff about wine. Like, where does this Merlot come from? Where does this Burgundy? Well, Burgundy comes from, you know, the Burgundy region, but like, where are all these champagnes from? What do they taste like? What are their colors? You know, all this stuff. I'm like, I don't care. So basically, and you had to pass. You had to get a certain amount right on every single section in order to pass the test. I bombed that one. Like, I got like 2 right. But I was allowed, because of my learning disabilities, they're like, okay, you know, we understand, you know, whatever, you can continue. And then after this, you know, the final exam, you get to take it twice. So if you bomb it the first time, you get to take it again. And for me, they were like going to give me extra options because I am dyslexic. And I was like, no, if I don't pass this 2 times, then this is not meant to be. So basically, I ended up taking it twice, and I passed with flying colors the second time. And I actually got the same. You get like these secret boxes, and you don't know what's in it. I got the same box. So I was like, yes. I already knew. I was the first one done. All my stuff was done right. So it was pretty awesome that I was able to do that. But my family was shocked that I was able to, you know, graduate from college, because I have an associate's degree in culinary arts. Like, my whole family was totally shocked. I was the first person in my family to graduate from a college. Like, my sister had graduated from trade school. She was a dental assistant for like 15 years and all this stuff, but first one to actually have a degree. And, you know, it shocked my family. And then, you know, I was a chef and a line cook for a while, but I decided, you know what, this isn't for me. I don't ever get to see my family. I want to get married and have kids one day. And when you're a chef, that's actually can be kind of hard, because you have to kind of give up time with your family in order to pursue your career and get higher up. And I just didn't want to do that. So I switched careers. My culinary arts degree I could still use for a lot of things, you know. I can go back to school and get more degrees to go with it, like a lot of my classmates from culinary school. But when I went to culinary school, I flat out told everybody in my class, I am dyslexic. I have this. You know, all my friends in the class, which normally I would keep that close to me. But they would be like, you're leaving the class to take your test. You know, what's going on? And so I just flat out told my friends and anybody who asked, I'm like, well, I'm dyslexic. I have a reading learning disability. You know, I can read, but I'm slower and I can't be timed on my test. I have to take my time or have it read to me. And I ended up meeting the most amazing friend there. She was from Thailand, and she helped me a lot. So she's one of the reasons why I passed, I think. But, you know, I ended up getting a career, like getting a job that I didn't think I was going to be able to do. But my best friend was like, you can do it. Because she was doing it. She's like, if I can do it, you know, you'll be fine. If you need any help, just call me, you know, because she was at a car dealership, and it was a sales secretary. And she's like, if you know, trust me, you can do this. And I did it for 2.5 years, you know, and then I decided I wanted to change careers, and I think my boss went out and fired me before I could put in my 2 weeks notice, and I ended up working for a bakery doing cake decorating, which is my true passion. And so yeah, that's basically, and then, you know, I did that but the bakery I didn't decorate cakes. I kind of helped out with that, but I didn't, you know, really do it. And then I did it later on, and then I ended up moving cross country to be with my husband, who at the time was my boyfriend, and basically that's all that, the history of that. But it really bothers me that a lot of YouTubers who are reading something or do something backwards or something are like, oh, I'm dyslexic, or I'm being dyslexic. That's so rude and disrespectful to people who are dyslexic, like me. Like, that's something that's always bothered me. Like, I'd have classmates that would say that. I'm like, excuse me, what? No. You don't say that. That's rude and disrespectful. It's like saying, oh, you're being retarded. Like, you don't say that. That's rude. Because you could say it in front of someone who has a severely retarded child or mentally disabled, to be correct, child, and to them, that's like using the N-word. You know, you just don't do it. You just don't use that word. And for me, it's kind of, I don't take it that far, but I'm like, you know, that's really rude and disrespectful to people like me and family members, because there's a lot of my family members that have it. And a lot of other people, that's just rude to say, oh, I'm being dyslexic, oh, I'm dyslexic. I know they're not saying it to be mean or disrespectful or rude, but there's just some things you just shouldn't say. And that's one thing that really bothers me. And there's a lot of YouTubers that I watch that say those things, and I'm just like, ugh, every time I'm like, really? I'm not going to name them because I don't want to do that. That's rude. But it's just one thing that has always bothered me. Like, you just don't do that. You don't say, oh, I'm being dyslexic because I can't read a sentence right. Or they'll be talking. One thing that gets me, when you're dyslexic, your talking isn't messed up. When you're reading something out loud, then yes, you stutter over your words and stuff. But, like, they'll be, like, just talking, and they'll say something totally, like, they'll flip words or something, like, oh, I'm being dyslexic. No. You need to read up on what dyslexic is, because just flipping words isn't being dyslexic. You know, and it's just, I just wish people would be more aware and would learn about this, because there's not a lot of people still to this day that don't know really anything about it. Like, they're just like, oh, it's just something they grew up hearing other people say, and so now they say it. And to me, you know, okay, I grew up hearing certain things, but I'm not going to just flat out say it, you know, and be rude and disrespectful. Like, I actually had a family member that said it, and I didn't even have to correct them. My husband did. And it was in his family, and they're like, oh, I'm just being totally dyslexic. And he's like, don't say that. That's rude. That's mean. You know, my wife is dyslexic. You don't ever say that again. You know, it was just very, like, it was right after we were married. Excuse me. So I just want to make people aware that, you know, you really shouldn't say stuff like that, because some people who are dyslexic will be like, oh, whatever. But for me, and I know a lot of other dyslexic people, it's not cool to say it. You know, if you're messing up on what you're reading or spelling or whatever, don't say it. Figure out something else. Say, oh, I'm brain dead. You know, I'm not thinking correctly. Don't say brain dead, because there are people who are brain dead, and that's not cool either. But, you know, come up with something else to say. Like, oh, I had a brain fart. That's better than saying, oh, I'm being dyslexic, or I had a dyslexic moment. So that's all I really have to say about that, because it's just something that is not okay, and I've never seen anybody else make a video about this, and I just want to make it known that, you know, there's just certain things you just don't say, and so, you know, making fun of dyslexic people is not okay. It's not. You just don't do it. You know, it's rude and disrespectful, and I understand some people might not even realize that that it is that. And I hope this video makes it quite clear that it is not okay to say those things. It's not. And I don't want to, like, irritate or peeve anybody off or anything like that, but you know, it's just one of those things where it's like, you need to know. People need to know that this is not okay. I know I'm probably going to have a lot of people rude, mean comments. I don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Just want to make this known that you should think before you speak. I know sometimes I don't think before I speak. Sometimes I say stuff that is rude and disrespectful to people, and I'm like, well, I'm so sorry, I should not have said that. That was so rude. That was so disrespectful. I don't like it when people make fun of my stuff, you know, me. So I, you know, apologize. So that's it for now. I have a few other videos I want to make, not rant videos. But that's it for now. So thank you for listening to my long video in the history of me being dyslexic and all that jazz. So I'll see you next time. Bye.